I welcome you all to our webinar From Data to Action with Omni and Hopmann. Just to kick everything off, we want to also have a quick poll with you just to see how much you already use AI in your daily work. So we will just start the poll now, and we'll just give you a minute to fill it in. And we see most of you use it actually already as part of your workflow. And for some of them, it's also essential to their work. We do not have anybody who doesn't use it at all. I'm not very surprised by that, as it is already quite abundant in every workplace. But let's see, we will show you today then a few more ways how it can help you with your workflow then. So then, I would like to start by introducing ourselves first. So first about us at Hopmann, we are a boutique consultancy based in Munich. We are actually specialized in marketing data, but we also have broad capabilities in the field of business analytics. And we always have as our goal that we want to help our customers by combining our strategical expertise and our implementation power for the best results. Some of our focus area are data strategy, marketing technology, marketing science, analytical CRM, and marketing data stack. And just to introduce myself as well, my name is Tobias, and I'm actually heading the marketing data stack team at our consultancy. And together with Liam, I'm hosting today's webinar. We partnered up this year with Omni, and I have to say already that it is a very interesting tool and very fascinating. But I think I will let Liam tell you more about it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liam McCarthy. I lead the solutions engineering team for Omni here in EMEA. So my team is responsible for everything technical customer facing. So giving demos, running proof of concept, and then the ongoing support of our customers as well. In terms of Omni, we come from a strong background of data experience. So our founding team and much of the team, including myself, have come from BI tools, such as Looker, also backgrounds from dbt, Stitch, and Snowflake, leading the team to build the next generation of business intelligence. We are just over 3 years old as a company, and we've been very fortunate to bring on some great customers there, both from a more traditional sense, and as well as some of the kind of companies that are at the forefront of technology and of AI. In terms of what we do, making self-service analytics really easy by giving people the tools that they want to go and answer those questions, whether that is AI, natural language, or it could be point and click, it could be APIs. Omni means everything. We want to give people the tools to do that. Bringing AI use cases into production is a very large part of this. I'm going to talk to you later about how we do that and how we have AI that works. And finally, embedded applications, embedded analytics is a large part of what we do as well. So not just internal business intelligence, but also our customers providing AI and dashboarding and self-service analytics to their customers as well, and doing that in a safe and secure and scalable way. So that's a really brief overview on Omni. Going to be talking a little bit more about the AI side of the story later, and also giving a live demo. But Tobias, I'll hand it back to you.
Great. Already looking forward to the demo here, because it will show you how to remove some of the issues which we'll talk at from the beginning. So one thing that I noticed in my work as a consultant, there are a few common roadblocks which a lot of people struggle with, and we would just want to go through with them and see how you're dealing with them before we go then later into the Omni part in the demonstration to see how we can solve them. So the first roadblock that I encounter quite often is that we have scattered and unreliable data. I mean, everybody knows data silos, and also everybody knows that poor quality of data is an issue. And the main problem there is that you have then no trust in insight. So even if you have a dashboard, people don't trust it that much. The second problem that I encounter quite often is that you have low data literacy in some companies, which means that people either can't or won't use data in their work. And when there is new innovation coming, there is some cultural pushback on this. And this might be actually caused by too little involvement in the data process from the business side. And I hope today you will see how we can solve this a bit. This is caused also a bit by BI tools being traditional BI tools being too complex. So you actually need specialists to work with them because you cannot expect every business user to become a technical expert immediately. And because of this, you have then the business teams basically relying on the answers from the data team in their ivory tower partially. And last but not least, we have here the problem that there are sometimes no clear rules or ownerships of products. So there is some missing alignment between IT and business, so that the data team doesn't really know what the business is doing and vice versa. And governance is a thing which also adds up on that. If it's not really good, it's coming into a problem area. So as a second little poll, we would like to just know what you're struggling with the most there. Or if it is something else, please just also write it in our chat. Good. So for the result, main problem seems to be that the data is scattered and unreliable. We will see today, I think also with Omni's shared data model, how this can be solved, but we will first also go through how we can address all of those problems. So that is actually also going to the first problem which we see. The data is actually present in nearly all companies, but if you don't have it together or properly organized, it's very hard to act on it. So what I do see is that at most companies, everyone has actually dashboards, but I actually see very few decisions in some places based on data yet. And a problem that we have here is that either it's not the right data or too much data, which is available to the business team to actually make a proper decision. And this actually leads to comics like this. Most people working in data have seen this one or a similar one already. So we see here that if we actually just present every KPI that we can possibly track, the understanding of it gets very low. But it's also difficult to find the right subset of KPIs to enable a business team to make a decision. And this is also due to the fact that the right subset is also not really a constant, because the demands which business faces change at a very rapid speed. And due to this, we need new solutions from the data team constantly. So we have the data team who needs to keep up with it. Due to this, we come to the consequence that we have on one side a BI or data team, which is overloaded with ad hoc requests or requests for new features. And it's actually quite difficult to scale the data team or quite expensive to get new people in. And we have, due to this, late answers to the questions which go to the data team. So we have on the one side, the business team waiting for answers. And on the other hand, the data team being overloaded with the requests and also being blocked from implementing, let's say, more strategic data projects for example, the C-level. And both sides are frustrated and no real data to action is happening. And for this, we just want to present you now a framework which can help you with that. And I call this the analytics to action framework. So the first step that we have here is that we want to collect reliable, relevant data. As we already saw in the poll, this is a big problem because data quality is very important. Because once you lose trust in data, it's actually very hard to get it back. But afterwards, it's also very important to break the silos and unify the sources. And I would like to go even a step further, and I would also suggest not to have what I call a dashboard silo either. So you have, for example, a dashboard which has all the marketing data, and you have one dashboard which has all the sales data. And now you have a business decision which would need both of them combined, and you need to get a new solution just for this. So it would be better to have a data model that is accessible to the business team. This also helps you directly with the third step, which is contextualize, that you directly tie your insights to strategy. So you need to integrate your business users directly in the analysis. And you can also do this with the last step with commit, that you define clear actions and owners. And with this, I mean that you also include business users in the ownership itself. Because when you see something weird happening in a dashboard, the changes in the data can come both from, let's say, an infrastructure issue because a pipeline broke, but also from business actions. So there is some alignment necessary between both parties, the business and the data team. And to make that whole thing a bit less abstract and to give you something to start with right away, I would suggest you to just start with the habits of a data-enabled team. The first habit here would be to start with decision-first analytics. Really start with the point to ask yourself, what decision do we need to make? And then ask yourself, what data do we need to base it on? And this gets much easier once you have the data accessible and transparent for everybody. Make fewer bottlenecks for the data that you don't need to go to the data guy in your company, make it accessible for more people, and reduce report hunting. And when you can do that, you can start with a rapid experimentation. It's always a problem that people start with very big projects and they put in a lot of work into a project, and in the end they see it doesn't really give them the insight that they want to have. So I would suggest you to test small and also fail small, but learn continuously. And now I guess we can go into the live demo and show you how all of this gets actually very easy with Omni itself to enable your business team to adopt these 3 habits and become part of the analytics program process.
Awesome. Let me start sharing my screen. Before I jump into the live demo, I want to just kind of briefly just touch on some of the our perspective on from Omni's side of the view on those exact items that Tobias was just talking about. So, the things that we keep in mind here at Omni when we're thinking about useful or reliable AI, firstly, data quality matters. Garbage in, garbage out. So as Tobias was saying, collecting the right data and from all of the various different sources and bringing it into one single place. When you do that, though, you can't just put AI directly on top of that and think that it's going to get you the right answers. Firstly, from a data security perspective, that wouldn't be such a good idea. There's probably sensitive data in there. There may be PII, there may be row level security or column level security that you have to apply. And just generally, there's probably tables that aren't that interesting for your end users. So you want to be able to put guardrails on that for security and governance. On top of that, then, you want to be able to translate the kind of language that humans use when they ask a natural language question into the data that you have in your data warehouse. People use vague, imprecise language because there's a lot of implicit things under the hood, but SQL and querying needs very precise language. And so you need a translation between those two. And you need a way for a human to be in the loop on this to understand what are the questions that people are asking, where is the AI doing well, where is it doing poorly, and where can it improve? And so a semantic layer is a really important part of that. Omni's semantic layer is used not just for regular querying as an end user using a traditional BI experience, but also for AI. It is that translation layer between the language that users use and the querying that we will do. We've layered in AI context into our semantic layer so that it can be applied at all of the different levels that make sense. I'll show you this in action in a couple of minutes. We can kind of go through these various different parameters. But the idea here being that you will build up this semantic layer, starting off with something that is simple. And over time, as you see people using it, iterating and improving on top of that. You don't need to get it perfect up front. In fact, you really couldn't get it perfect up front because you will have to see how people use it over time and how the AI evolves to be able to go and then iterate on top of it and improve it. So to give an example here, and again, we're going to walk through this live in a moment, but someone might ask a question like, show me the revenue by channel in 2024. It has to be able to know what the various fields are to be able to do that. Someone might ask for a filter. They might ask then for a summary of those results in plain text. And as you see how the AI responds to those, you will curate your semantic model to make sure that those answers are correct going forward. So to give a more concrete example, jumping over then into Omni here, this is the full Omni chat experience. Behind this, we do also have the more traditional BI experience as well, which I'll very briefly touch on in a moment. You can also interact with all of this through an MCP server or through APIs as well, if you prefer. So if you like to do all the rest of your work through Cloud Desktop, you can do that and have an Omni tool for that too. But this is how I start all of my questions now in Omni. When I'm looking at our own internal data, I will go straight to this chatbot and I'll say, if I was an e-commerce store, something like show me my monthly revenue for this year for the United Kingdom. And I think this is a good example of something that seems simple for a human, but actually when we want to translate it into something that makes sense from a data perspective and is correct, it's maybe not so simple. So what are the things that are interesting here? Well, firstly, do we have a field called revenue in our database, or is it called something else? Is the United Kingdom, is that what our data looks like? Or does it look like something else? And is there anything that is implicit here that I haven't actually said? And so we can see here, well, firstly, for example, we can see it's looked and it's got our total sales price. So there's a synonym for what I have asked. It's not revenue, it's total sales price. The country field that it's filtered on is the UK. So it's translated United Kingdom to UK, again, because that AI context, that semantic layer, has that information about what this field actually looks like in my database. And then something that I didn't actually ask for, but I should have, because it was implicit in my question, is I only want to look at complete and shipped orders. I don't, when I'm looking at my revenue for this year, I don't want to look at canceled orders. I don't want to look at returned orders. I only want these completed orders. So these are all things that are baked in as part of that underlying semantic layer to take the kind of imprecise questions that people ask and turn them into correct answers. From here then as well, you'll see we're also giving a little summary, but I can go and I can ask an iterative question on top of this. I might say then, also include last year. So this is conversational. It has the memory of the question that I just asked, and it's able to then iterate on top of that as well. And then I might say, after it generates this, I might ask it to give me a summary, or actually in this case, it'll go and it'll give me that summary straight out of the box. So this is a really, really simple example of how we can get started with AI here. We do also have the ability for it to chain together multiple queries. I won't get into this right now, but this is sort of a deep research mode where you could ask it a more open-ended question and it'll go and it'll run all the various queries against your database and create a summary of all of that. But oftentimes then you'll want to not just be locked into that AI workflow. You'll also then want to go and iterate on top of it. So I can at any point click this little explore button here, and that's now going to go and bring me into the more traditional BI experience, but with my starting point of my AI query to go and iterate on top of. From here, I can continue to use natural language. So if I wanted to change anything about this, just using natural language, I can do so from here. Or I can use a more traditional point and click interface to go and make whatever change I might want to make. Jumping then into what does this semantic layer actually look like? I've mentioned it quite a few times, but how is it represented? If we take, for example, that country field. So that's the one where I asked for the United Kingdom, but in fact, it gave me UK instead. It knew to do that because of that semantic layer. Now, this semantic layer under the hood is represented in YAML, but you don't have to go and write code to get this. You can also interact with it through the user interface as well. So you'll see there is a mixture here of metadata, of context for users. So things like labels and descriptions. These are also passed to the AI, by the way, but they're primarily for users. And then we have AI specific context as well. So that could be free text, like something here, like this is obviously kind of obvious, right? Everyone knows what a country is, but you can imagine you might have very obscure fields in your database and you might want more verbose descriptions for the AI to be passed into the context window there. Synonyms. So we saw earlier how it saw total sales price and it knew that that was equivalent to revenue. A synonym is those different words we might use to describe the same thing. And then this all values. So that's where it looks at what the values are in your database and it will populate those into this field here so that it knew when I asked for United Kingdom, that's not a field that we have in our database, but we do have the UK. And so it's going to go ahead and filter based off of that. This is just an example of these of this AI metadata on a field level. You also have the ability, for example, to define golden queries. So, maybe this is always how we want people to look at monthly UK sales. And so what's a prompt someone might ask, and that this is the correct answer to that question. And then you also have the ability on a data set level to give a general description about what all of this data means. So that's how you can build up this AI context so that Omni is not just writing random SQL against your database. Omni is taking the query and it has that context, that metadata to understand what is the actual meaning behind the query. And then also because it's a semantic layer and because it's not just writing these massive SQL queries, you also have the auditability of what all of these, what it has actually done. So if you want to understand what filters has it put in there, you're not trying to parse out 100-line SQL query to understand that. You have all of the fields that it has selected available here. That's just a really, really quick overview of just a sample of some of the AI touch points that we have here. Like I said, some things I haven't gotten into here is doing it through the workbook. We also have AI available in the dashboard. We also have the MCP server as well for AI through Omni, but outside of the Omni product. And all of this is embeddable as well. But conscious of time and of keeping everyone interested. So I shall hand it back over to Tobias.
Thank you for this very engaging demo of Omni. It's also very brief, and I can already tell you from my experience it is capable of much more than that already. But now we would like to dive into the questions that you potentially have on that.
All right. I'm dialing in as well. Hello, my name is Susanne. I'm working for Hopmann. And I have to say, as a marketeer myself, I really love what you just showed, Liam. It looks so straightforward, and I think it will save a lot of time. So if anybody has questions, you can still put them in the Q&A. We got a few questions so far already. I think the first one is one that probably a lot of people thought when they saw this, and I think I would direct them to both of you and actually ask that question to both of you. Will AI eventually replace business analysts? What is your stance on that, Tobias? Maybe you want to start.
So from my stance, I have to say probably not, but it will change the role a lot. So I already see that in my work currently as an analyst that a lot of tasks, how I approach them, did change a lot with AI. But I think you're always still going to need a person who gets the whole process of how the analysis works in the background to get the proper answers and also be able to validate them behind. Because I mean, we're not yet at the stage, maybe we will be at the stage where we be able to trust AI completely, but like Liam showed, we still need right now this process of having a human in the loop and see if the answer is correct. Liam, how do you see it?
Exactly that. Human, we need someone as a human in the loop to translate from the data into the business, and that is not stuff. That's not something that just exists on the public internet. It exists in the minds of analysts, and so analysts will contribute to that. I think increasingly what we'll see is analysts being context engineers for this kind of information, and hopefully doing fewer and fewer of these sort of basic data pulls for end users. So I think the role will change, hopefully for the better, because you'll have to do a lot less answering of tickets to go and pull that data. That will hopefully be able to be something that, because of the lower barrier to entry, because of AI, the end users will be able to do. And then the analysts will be able to switch to more strategic kind of tasks, like building that context layer to improve the AI.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Then the second question, I think, is directed to you, Liam. Can I try Omni for free? Do you have any options for that?
Yes, we have. So you can go onto our website and go and request a meeting, and we're more than happy to walk you through it and kind of talk through the process.
Awesome, thanks a lot. Then one more question just came in live. This is, I think, directed to you, Tobias. It's about a rapid experimentation, the point 3 you listed in one of your slides. Could you please talk a little bit more about that?
So here in this case, if we already have the demo from Omni right now, that is already very helpful for it. There, I mean that you start yourself by just experimenting what kind of visualization, for example, would help you right now to answer the question which you have. And just try yourself to pull together some data and see like, oh, can I get some insight out of there? So it makes it very easy to just be able to do this in a chat kind of way and then build further on it. But the experimentation part already gets very quick with this. Instead of starting with a fixed idea that I'm like, I want to build this dashboard which shows this visualization right now and shows this data, and start with the process, get like a long sprint going and try to work on it. And in the end, you see like, oh, this does not even help me in my business too much. So this is what I mean, that you rather get directly into the analytics process with an easy, let's say, low barrier tool like Omni with the AI interface, and just experiment first before you go and start big.
Perfect. Thanks. I hope that answers the question. If not, just put some more in the chat, please. We still have time for a few more questions. So there was one, I think it's probably best directed to you, Liam. How long does it work, or how long does it take to set everything up?
Very much depends on the individual business. So sometimes we work with customers where they're maybe mature in data, they've already got a BI tool, they've been using a transformation tool like dbt to have highly curated data, and it's plug and play and everything just works. If that's not you, don't feel bad. It's not a lot of people. And so some other times we will connect to data that people are looking at for the first time. And in that scenario, again, we're very much focused on delivering value as quickly as possible, but it's sometimes a little bit more iteration as to working with you to understand, like, how should we model this data? How do you want to look at that data, and building up more of that context from scratch? Either way, we very much pride ourselves in having a flexible tool that can get to value almost instantly. But in terms of like how long it takes it to really get a true kind of foundation of data built, yeah, it depends on what the underlying data sources look like.
Thanks a lot. So I'd say, looking at the time, we do 2 more questions, and then all the rest we answer in email afterwards. So here's one for Tobias. I think you hear this question a lot. It's basically, we have the data, but we're not doing much with it yet. How can we enable our teams to actually do data to action?
So first of all, I would search for a problem that you would actually need data to solve it for. So we start again with this decision first analytics, that you first go like, oh, I have this problem. Which of my marketing campaigns is working the best, for example, and try to find like which metrics are helping you with that, and then start with a small use case. It's always good to start with small use cases to get something going, and not try to get data driven in every aspect at once, but just try to start with one answer, with one question, and then get to an answer for that, and then start some monitoring in this aspect, and just make further decisions based on that monitoring. So that's what I would just recommend you to just start with the small stuff first and let it grow from there.
Perfect, thank you. And then the last question goes to Liam. How accurate is the AI featured analysis?
So, the idea is that it's something that's going to be iterative. So straight out of the box, if you don't add any context, then, it's probably not, it'll try. And again, it depends, again, as we said, on how clean that underlying data is. The idea is, though, that we want to give you, firstly, the ability to see how the query has been built. So again, you can understand it through that semantic layer, and then also giving you the visibility of what the questions people are asking and what the answers it's getting are, which is something I didn't get time to touch on in the demo, but that, again, that human in the loop, with the idea being that as you build out that context, as you understand the querying patterns that people use, you'll be able to make it more and more accurate. So the question you should be asking is actually, do I have the tools with this data stack to be able to make it accurate in the future? Because nothing's going to be accurate straight out of the box. It's not going to have the context on your data and your business. So the important thing is, will I be able to give it that context?
Perfect. Sums it up perfectly, I think. Just before I let you and Tobias do the final wrap up, we also have a question for you. When you leave the webinar, we have a small survey where you can just fill out 3 questions, how you like the webinar, just to help us improve for further webinars and get your feedback on this one. But now I hand over again to Tobias and Liam to wrap up. Thank you.
So for wrapping up, I have to say it was a very fun session with you, Liam, here, and thank you all for joining today's webinar there. Like we said in the beginning, the slides and the recording will follow via email next week. And if you want to get into contact with us to know more, either contact us over the QR code that you see here on the slide, or you can write me also an email directly. Same goes for Liam, I guess. Exactly. Susanne already mentioned it with a quick survey. The feedback will help us improve, so very much appreciated. And I'm looking forward to see you the next time.